Hello and thank you for coming to the McWattersaffect. I'm your host Matt. Today I'm looking at the Gateway Pundit, but first I need you to hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Now let's take a look at this news article. Pete Buttigieg claims Democrat infrastructure plan will stop climate change. For months now, Democrats have redefined the meaning of the word infrastructure. It includes pretty much anything. Most people think it is roads and bridges, but Democrats think it means child care, education, and more. Pete Buttigieg, who is now Biden's transportation secretary for some reason, is even claiming that their infrastructure plan will stop climate change. Is there anything infrastructure can't do? Breitbart reports, Pete Buttigieg's infrastructure plan will stop climate change. The transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, boldly told KTLA Sunday that the infrastructure plan will stop climate change. The nearly $1.2 trillion plan, hanging on by a thread with the support of 11 Senate Republicans, spend heavily on electric vehicles and other Democrat pet causes, redefined as infrastructure. Pete Buttigieg pitched the plan to the news station, saying, as the West was being impacted by extreme weather events and some of the heat waves that have been going on, this is not going to go away, he added. We need to take serious climate action to stop it from getting worse, and that's part of what will happen. Thanks to these investments we're proposing to make on everything from electric vehicles, infrastructure to more resistant infrastructure plans in our communities. Buttigieg touted the current bipartisan support for the plan based in part on financing that includes increasing activities by the Internal Revenue Service to pursue taxpayers. In typical Democrat fashion, Buttigieg says there is no time for the debate on the issue. The Hill reports, Buttigieg, there is no time to argue over climate change. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the debate is over. Whether climate change exists needs to stop, saying there is no time to argue about the weather. It's real. It's happening, and it's incredibly dangerous. Pete Buttigieg was asked in an interview on ABC's The View on Wednesday how his department is addressing climate change. Amid record-setting heat in the Pacific Northwest, we got to do two things. One, we've got to make our infrastructure more resistant because this is going to keep on happening. So we've got to make sure that our roads and our bridges are designed for rising sea levels and more heat waves, Buttigieg says. But the second thing we got to do is we've got to stop it from getting any worse. That's why it's important to make sure that we help Americans afford and drive electric vehicles. It's why we have to make sure we have alternate like transit and make sure it's easier for people to get around without having to bring a vehicle sometimes, depending on where you're going, he added. Democrats have been claiming for decades that there's no time to argue about climate change, and they just keep moving the goalpost. Alright guys, that's the end of the article, and whether you believe in climate change or not believe in climate change, you have to admit they do keep on moving that goalpost and changing the rules of climate change. Do I believe climate change exists? I'm half and half on it. Really, I think it's more natural than anything else. I mean, the sun is what creates our climate. There's other aspects as well, but the sun is the major contribution of whether or not it's going to be hot or not. Solar flares can cause issues. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that can cause issues that Democrats aren't putting into account of when they are talking about climate change. So, in my opinion, is any of this going to help in the long run? For all we know, we're going to have a cold snap and we're going to be in like a really cold time for a couple of decades. You just don't know what's going to happen with climate. So, in my opinion, what they're doing isn't going to do anything because you just don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I also believe the reason they want to do this is because they want to have more control over people's lives as well. Because that's what the Democrats are all about, and that's what big government's all about. Controlling what people are doing at all times. And they're using climate change to do so. But guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Peace.